Check one, two, check one, two. There we go, everybody. Welcome back to the Hohner YouTube channel. We are here on a Thursday evening. That's new. At least for winter, we are moving over. The Hohner live streams happening on Wednesdays now, rather than on Thursdays. And I'm very happy about this episode. This is number 75, which is crazy. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Let us know in the chat from where you're tuning in. If you have any questions, let us know. And I'm super happy about our guest. This is our first conversation. And please welcome, give him a big hand, Dan Murphy in London right now. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for having me, Konstantin, and congrats on your big 75 and hello to the harmonica world.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, what I know, that's something I know, at least you're originally from Ireland, right?
Yeah, that's right. I grew up in Limerick, which is a city in the southwest of Ireland. It's the third biggest city. We're quite proud of that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, cities aren't very big in Ireland, so Limerick is a small town at least by German standards anyways. But it was a great place to grow up. Really good music scene. And I moved to London about 3 years ago, just before the pandemic.
Wow, I see. Yeah, What was the reason for that?
I got a job as a lecturer in a college here in London. So I kind of do that for 6 months of the year. From September to April, I work as a songwriting lecturer, lecturing creativity and songwriting. And I love it. I get to work with young artists and songwriters. And then from April on, I tend to get busier with my band. I'm in an Irish band called Hermitage Green.
Oh, yes.
That's been the kind of main basis of my career for the past almost 13 years now. So the band become very active then for the other 6 months of the year. We tour a little bit in the winter as well. I have my midterm in 2 weeks' time. We're going to Australia for that. But for the most part, I kind of do 6 months of the year lecturing, and then the other 6 months is writing and recording and touring with Hermitage Green.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everybody. I mean, you can check out the description box below. I think I linked every social media channel I could find and also your band's website so people can check out what you do. And in fact, that's what I did too. Like, I think a few weeks ago, I just discovered you and you're playing on Instagram or something. Maybe it even was TikTok. I don't know. I'm just starting to dive into the TikTok game, but you're also uploading your stuff over there. And I thought it was a very unique combination of playing harmonica and beatboxing, because most of the time players only using one harmonica are limited to like 2 chords, but you had like all these different tuned harmonicas in your hands, like the natural minor tune or harmonic minor tune, whatever. And you had some pretty nice chord progressions going on, which I love. I love harmony, so that was fantastic.
Yeah, I should say I'm first and foremost, I'm a guitarist and a singer.
Oh yeah, that's what I wanted to ask. Like, what was first?
I took up guitar and piano when I was about 15, and admittedly, I've only been playing harmonica for 7 or 8 years, and I still feel like I have so much to learn. I mean, I was looking at your videos the other day, and I was just blown away by your blues playing and your tone. So I very much look at myself as a learner and an apprentice to a good harmonica player. But I got into the beatboxing there's a British harmonica player and a slide guitarist called Philip Henry. He's a folk musician. And he's an absolute virtuoso. He's just an amazing player. And I heard some of his stuff about 10 years ago, and I went and I bought a slide guitar, and I went to India to study in a place that he had spent some time to learn slide guitar there. And he also plays the beatbox harmonica stuff. So that kind of inspired me to learn that technique. And yeah, it's an interesting, I think it has kind of given a new lease of life to the instrument of the harmonica amongst a younger generation, because I
Very
get lots
true,
of younger
yeah.
people coming up to me saying, "Oh, it sounds like hip hop," and it has kind of exposed the harmonica as an instrument to these other styles. Like, I can play dubstep grooves and hip hop and electronica grooves on the harmonica, which is traditionally people kind of associate harmonica more with blues and country. So I think for that reason, it's great. I'm really happy that style of playing is kind of opening the instrument up to other people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's incredible and very important for the instrument, I guess. When I started out, there were some other players at my age, I think, but I'm not sure if they really continued the harmonica path, you know? They played some blues, and maybe they were even better players back then compared to me. But if you visit these harmonica festivals nowadays here in Europe, I guess, yeah, it's an older age group, I would say, playing a lot of blues. And if you compare that to the events going on in Asia and in South America, the harmonica scene is just a little younger, I guess.
Yeah,
So it kind of makes sense to, I don't know, incorporate the harmonica in these more contemporary pop music styles. So, yeah, younger people just hear the instrument, because then you can get hooked. If you don't hear the instrument anywhere, or if you only hear it on the streets being played badly, I mean, most probably the probability is very high that it's being played badly.
yeah.
Then you won't be fascinated by the instrument. So
it's such a versatile instrument in what you can do with it. I mean, I got into playing harmonic minor, natural minor tunings a couple of years ago, and that just opened up a whole new world of the types of music that you can accompany. And we were speaking before we went live, and I was telling you about something that Lee Oscar told me, and I'll repeat it now just for the sake of your listeners being able to hear. But
Yeah.
I was saying, I play Lee Oscar harmonicas, and I went to Seattle a couple of years ago, and I hung out with Lee for a little while, and he's a mentor and a friend and just an incredible artist that I have so much respect for. But he told me that growing up in the early 1950s in Denmark, all the kids in school had harmonicas. And it was mainly because they didn't have access to expensive guitars and amplifiers. So it was the most practical gift that you could give a child as a stocking filler at Christmas. So
yeah,
everybody had harmonicas, and Lee just set about learning melodies that he was hearing on the wireless. And he painted a picture of this beautiful culture amongst the young musicians that obviously existed in Denmark back then. And it's obviously a generational thing, and I think it comes back round. And that's why it's great to see younger people kind of take interest in the TikTok audience, take interest in this style of music, because I think it will perpetuate the instrument on to the next generation.
Yeah, that's such an important thing. And I think that's what we're all trying to do.
Yeah. Before we die.
Because, yeah, that's also something I wanted to tell you about London. Like, I think I visited London for the first time in May, earlier this year. Never been to London before. I've been to the Harmonica Festival, the NHL Harmonica Festival in Bristol before. And basically, I just flew over and I organized some sessions with other musicians that I like singers, because I'm also producing. And now I'm working with some artists in London, like, yeah, some hip-hop stuff, even some drill stuff. Just working on the drill harmonica beat with a great rapper from there.
Nice,
so I might be back very soon.
Yeah, it lends itself really well to rap and hip-hop styles. But definitely hit me up. And I would love to check out a harmonica festival. I can't imagine what that's like. Let me know when the next one is on. I would love to I'd love to go for a look.
Oh yeah, definitely. Just try to mute myself, sneezing a little bit. Caught a cold this weekend.
Yeah, everybody is everybody's sick at the moment. I think it's that autumn changing of the seasons.
Very true. Yeah. I also went partying on Saturday night, which was very unnecessary, and we played like a concert in the morning on Sunday, like at 11 a.m. and like early sound check. I'm not sure if that was the best idea.
That's never good. That's the good thing about being a singer, is I don't get away with too many of those late nights, early starts. I'll just lose my voice. So that keeps me between the lines.
Oh yeah.
I've got a tour in Australia in 2 weeks' time, and it's our first tour abroad since before the pandemic, so in almost 3 years. And I've got to be on my best behavior. I just choose 1 or 2 nights where I have a few drinks or party, but I used to be able to do it a couple of nights in a row when I was younger, but not anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So something that we discovered playing these concerts, and also I told you earlier, we visited some schools and played some harmonicas with them and taught how to play and all that stuff, that the attention span of the people is like lowering, like it's harder to concentrate for longer periods of time. Like, do you have the same experience playing concerts or doing other stuff?
Yeah, I always say the live test is a really good barometer for a song.
Yeah.
And I'll write a song in my bedroom that I think is done. I'm like, this is fine, it's done, it's perfect. And then you play it live and you read the room, and you hear the song differently when you play it live to a bunch of people. And it sounds different to you, but you're also so tuned in to the reactions of other people. And you can see it's very honest reading a room. You can read people's body language, and their reactions are very honest. So you can see there's a little bit too much fat here. There's some stuff we could trim or rearrange some things. So I always think it's a really, really good way to kind of have a litmus test for your song. And the same goes for lecturing. When you're teaching, I find the longer I'm talking for, the less the students are listening.
Yeah.
So I remember from my first classes, I would go in with so much material prepared. And then I realized pretty quickly that the more engagement and interaction you can provoke out of them by asking them questions constantly. What do you think of this? And do you agree with that? Or if you disagree, tell me why, and let's open up a discourse about that. And you can see the difference in the room because they're being challenged to think about stuff. And I'll pick out certain people and ask them questions, and that usually keeps everybody on their toes because they don't know if they're going to get asked a question by surprise. And I think, live performance is a lot like that too. You've got to read the room, and you've got to be aware of that stuff at all times, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think like with the kids between like 6 to 9 or something, we were there for like an hour, and at the other school, the kids were like 11 to 12, and we were there for like 1.5 hours. And the feeling of everyone was like, next time we're going to do this, we should cut it a little shorter.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to concentrate for such a long period of time. And we even noticed at the concert we played, which was like kind of a, I don't know how you call that in English, like a matinee kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the audience had breakfast before, during, and after our performance, So they had breakfast for like 30 minutes. Then we played for 30 minutes. Then they had breakfast for another 30 minutes. We played for another 30 minutes. And then the whole thing ends slowly,
Yeah.
And that was perfect because people were so focused during these 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Comparing that experience to situations where we played like 45 minutes twice with a shorter break in between.
Yeah. It can work if you can hand it back to them and give them something to do at some point. So let's do this together. Let's try something together
Oh yeah.
and create some sort of an exchange or an interaction. But if it's kind of one person talking to a group for an hour, then there's a point of diminishing returns maybe at about the 40-minute mark where you might stand to lose people.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, giving harmonicas out to everyone, like in the case of the 11 to 12-year-olds. I mean, it's the same with, like, adults. Like, if I give harmonica workshops to 30 people, and, I mean, everybody just starts playing, and there's noise, and it's hard to stop them. Like, of course it's exciting.
Yeah, that's the worst sound in the world.
Yeah. So, how did you get into playing harmonica then? What was the thing that fascinated you?
Um, I think I always had one. I was late taking up music. I started playing when I was 15 and realized then pretty quickly that it was something that I would want to do for the rest of my life. But that was guitar and piano, and I think I always had a harmonica in the house. But as I mentioned before, I didn't really take up the instrument properly until about 2014, maybe 2013 or 14. And
Okay.
the catalyst for that was that guy, Philip Henry, that folk musician. And I just, with that stuff, I always kind of follow my curiosity. And if something sounds good, I'll pursue that. And that's probably why I play a lot of different stuff. I play guitar, piano, and didgeridoo, slide guitar, and harmonica. And harmonica has kind of become my biggest passion in the last few years. But I've always just kind of, followed my curiosity. If something sounds nice to me, I sort of become fixated on it and I want to do it and recreate that sound. And the harmonica as an instrument has so much character to it, so much soul for such a small little instrument, a small little tin sandwich, as they call it. There's so
Yeah.
much you can do with it. It's so versatile. It's got so much character and soul to it that I think I was always gonna get hooked at some point in my life, regardless of where I was. I think I would have come across someone playing it that was going to get under my skin and just get me hooked. How about you?
Yeah, I mean,
You
it's just
sound like
like,
you've been playing for a while.
oh, sorry, I didn't get that.
I said, how about you? When did you start? And that you sound like you've been playing for a while.
Oh man, I think pretty much at the same time. Like, if I think back, no, there was a TV show on German television, like America's Got Talent, whatever, Britain's Got Talent, and there was a guy playing harmonica, and he actually won the whole thing.
Nice.
And there was a time where, I mean, I was at home, and there was still a time where you would sit in front of the TV with your whole family, which isn't the case nowadays anymore, I think, you know? But it was like a Friday or Saturday evening event on TV, and this guy played. There was also like an emotional story involved, you know? But he played very easy melodies, evergreens. But it was just so mysterious and fascinating, and the sound was so personal and touching that I turned into a big fan, and I wanted to start playing myself. So he also played some Christmas songs, and my goal was to play Ave Maria next to the Christmas tree, which didn't work out in the end. But right after the show, I rode my bike to the next music dealer in my hometown and got my first instrument. Together with, it's just an instruction book, starting to work it out autodidactically. Yeah.
Have you ever met that guy and had the chance to tell him about the influence he had on you?
No.
Well, if you're out there.
It's crazy. I mean, I guess he made his money, and he's still playing concerts, but like not at the level he used to back then, you know? So I don't know. He's also like not part of the harmonica scene. But yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna meet him someday.
Yeah, it's funny how you can just serendipitously stumble across something like that, and it can change your life. And it's the same with that guy Philip Henry, my mate Matty Organ, was a friend of mine that I studied with in college. And I think everybody has a couple of friends who you're sort of well aligned with when they tell you to listen to something or watch a movie. I have a few friends like that where if they tell me you need to listen to this record or check out this movie, I know I need to do that it's important that I do that.
Yeah.
Matty is one of those guys, and he sent me a recording of Philip Henry playing slide guitar, and I had never heard anything like it. It really blew my mind, and that started me off on this whole journey of slide guitar and harmonica. And it's funny how something as simple as that on a given day can just change the trajectory of your life sometimes. Did you play
crazy.
music before harmonica?
I mean, I played piano, and clarinet for some time. Just at home, like, I don't know, I didn't really practice.
Yeah.
If I practiced a little more clarinet, I would have turned into a very good player, I guess. I was still like good enough even without practicing. Like, my teacher was never disappointed or something, you know? Just played a little 15 minutes before the lesson and I was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't like my passion. It like didn't.
Yeah, I would like to, out of curiosity, I would like to try another wind instrument or even a brass instrument, because I play a didgeridoo, which is completely different to harmonica. You play that with your lips,
Yeah.
and it's one note. So that's a really different technique. But I would love to try a clarinet or a flute or something and see if there's any translation in the technique. There probably isn't, but there's only one way to find out.
Yeah, but as soon as you've like mastered one of them, you can just approach all these other, let's say, wind instruments, more creatively, I think. And only after stopping with clarinet lessons and stuff and playing harmonica for a longer time, grabbing the clarinet again, I started to notice, oh wow, I can do vibrato on the clarinet.
Yeah.
The teacher never told me.
Yeah.
Like, it was always like play the notes on the sheet, you know?
Yeah.
We even started to improvise a little, but like I never knew how to do a vibrato on the clarinet.
Yeah. You can probably do it when you sing as well, because it's the same technique.
Yeah, so that's just so weird. Like,
With harmonica, actually, I had an interesting sort of change in direction about 2 years ago, where I play with tongue blocking
yeah,
almost exclusively, and tongue blocking can be really good for certain things. And then when I was listening to Lee and how he plays, and he gets like such gorgeous vibrato, like this wide vibrato, and he does a lot of like sliding between notes. And I was like, what? How does he do that? Why does his sound so much better than mine? And there's a lot of reasons for that. But I actually found when I dug into it a little bit, it's part of why his tone was so different to mine is because he's puckering. So I started exploring that to almost teach myself to play again using puckering just when I need it for certain things. And it's been really fun, but it's really slow because I'm quite attached to using my tongue. And it's taken quite a while, but I can kind of use both now when I need them. And that was a cool sort of a direction to take my playing in over the last few years. Lockdown helped because I had 24 hours a day just to practice it at home.
Yeah. That's interesting. Oh, UA says Gwen Foster used a flute embouchure to get his trills. Wow. Okay. Did you ever study like some pre-war harmonica players?
No, not really. I would love to dig into the history of the instrument a little bit more. I mean, if you're knowledgeable, please enlighten me, because when I spent time with Lee, he was telling me about the Japanese origins and tambo. So Lee Oscar is produced by tambo, and he was telling me about the tambo family and how there's a rich history of the harmonica in Japan, which I found really fascinating. But it's a really, really old instrument, right?
I mean, if you look back at the ancestors of the instrument, yeah.
Mm,
I think if you look back, just look at the harmonica itself, it's pretty young.
mm.
But yeah, thinking about the ancestor, you had like the shang, like the all the different mouth organs that
Yeah, there's like
were
a
appearing in
Chinese derivative
Asia.
of it
Yeah,
that was around in 1500 years ago, or and it kind of works the same way, but it's obviously not a harmonica.
yeah, and the harmonica. I mean, especially the diatonic, is just like a simplification basically of the whole thing, you know.
Mm.
And
You play chromatic.
just sometimes I do have a chromatic, but to be honest, I only play it if people ask me to do it. If
Mm.
they want to get the Stevie Wonder sound on their record, or if I feel like, okay, this song I just produced, the chromatic harmonica just suits the whole thing better, or like, yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tone. I don't have one. I've only kind of messed around on one, but they're a beautiful instrument.
So how about today? Like, if we look at your Spotify playlists and all that stuff, like, what kind of music are you into, and are you still listening to harmonica players?
My favorite harmonica players. I'm a big fan of Rory McLeod. Do you know him?
I don't know.
British folk musician. He plays a lot of harmonic minors, and he does these gorgeous kind of Eastern European sounding licks on harmonic minors. He has a great folk tune called the Miners Picket Dance. So I'm a big fan of him, and then Philip Henry. Other than that, I mean, Sonny Terry and those old blues players, like that kind of goes without saying. Um, Other than that, I kind of, my music taste is oddly, it's just spans across a lot of different styles and genres. My first language was heavy metal, so I loved heavy
Yeah.
metal growing up, and my band
Wow.
Hermitage Green are kind of indie pop with sort of folk instrumentation. We have didgeridoo and harmonica and djembe drums and acoustic instruments with synths, and there's lots going on there. So I think I'm kind of typical of a musician who learned and grew up during the early days of the internet. So instead of my taste in music and my style of playing being really homogenized, like it might have been back in the 1980s,
Yeah.
I was able to buy a didgeridoo and a sitar on eBay when I was 18. So
Oh, I see.
you also have music at the touch of a button. So I kind of had this very erratic kind of diverse taste in music. And when I say I follow my curiosity, if I hear something in a style of music that I like, I kind of go after it and learn it. So I've always sort of done that, and sometimes I kind of think I'm just waiting for the next thing that comes on and catches my attention, and I'll probably go and want to learn that and figure it out. And I kind of have, I always feel like I have to do that. I kind of need a bit of motion or curiosity driving me on to keep learning, and it keeps me excited when I'm learning something new. That was a very kind of a long-winded answer to your question, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's also, I feel there seems to be some sort of a connection between like Irish and like general folk music and heavy metal. I think there are a lot of musicians liking both or playing both.
Yeah. Our Irish trad music is very rhythmic, and it's quite complex melodically. It's really complex. There's a lot of information and triplets and movement, and it's very it's intense in its energy, and heavy metal is intense in the same type of energy, but it could be kind of perceived as being darker energy. But
Yeah.
they do exist, I think, on the same parallels. And I love heavy metal. That was my first thing that I listened to, and I almost compare every music to that, and I want that. My band that I write for are completely different styles, but I still try and recreate that sense of dynamic and the rise and fall and the drama that you get in metal music. So it influences me in ways that I probably don't even realize.
What would you say is a heavy metal band that everyone should check out?
I just saw Tool a
Yeah.
couple of months ago
Okay.
in London, and Tool are, I guess they're more of a prog rock band, but they're an incredible bunch of musicians. They release an album every, it could be 8 to 10 years, and the songs are really, they can be 7 to 13 minutes long, lots of irregular time signatures, lots of movement, almost like classical music, and it's not a great example of metal music because it's not strictly metal music. They don't sound like anybody else, but I just think they're the most amazing band. And something a little bit more accessible maybe would be System of a Down, who I know are really popular in
Oh
Germany as
yeah,
well.
I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan still
Yeah.
because it was so interesting back when I had clarinet lessons with my first teacher. Uh, I asked him for like some music to check out, and he had some CDs ready for me. Like one of them was like full of film music, and the other one was like full of System of a Down,
Yeah.
which didn't have anything to do with the stuff we did, playing classical music on the clarinet, you know. But that's how I definitely got into that a little too.
Yeah, I think when music is really good, or when a band are really good, or an artist is really good, it transcends genre, and it transcends generations and gender and race. And I mean, Rammstein, very good example. I love Rammstein. Now I know
Yeah,
Germans aren't as keen on Rammstein, and I've heard that before. But I think Rammstein are a good example where I don't speak German, but their music is so good that it transcends the barriers of language, and it's just it's an
yeah,
energy, it's a vibe that I get from their songs. And I think you could say that for a lot of really good artists like System of a Down that have broken through the kind of membrane of mainstream resistance when they hear that extreme music and they're like, oh, it's too heavy. System of a Down are so good that they sort of transcend that. And I went to see them in Wembley Arena a couple of years ago, and it was really interesting to look at the crowd. The audience were like men and women, guys in suits coming from work, and people of all ages, like dads bringing their kids, dads bringing their grandmothers. It was just
yeah.
across the board. And I think that's a sign that a band have really connected with an
That's
audience,
true.
and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to go visit a System of a Down concert.
Yeah, they haven't released a record in nearly 15 years,
That's
but
true.
they still tour, and yeah, they're a force of nature. But I've seen that happen with lots of different acts. You know, Rodrigo y Gabriela. Have you heard of them?
I don't think so. No.
They're like two Mexican guitarists, and they play instrumental acoustic music, and it sounds kind of flamenco to me because they play on classical guitars, but they say it's not flamenco, it's just their music, but it, to me, it sounds really Spanish influenced, and it's really rhythmic and just infectious. The energy is infectious, and they're a band that I've seen live that kind of transcend those barriers of the crowd or a mainstream audience that listen to radio pop music, and their music is just so good that it kind of breaks through those usual barriers that you see
Oh yeah.
with artists or with genres. And I think it's a sign of a really good artist.
I think I used to play a Rammstein song at a concert before,
On
but yeah,
on
it's like
harmonica.
on harmonica. Yeah, I don't remember the name of the song. But also I loved how the music was being used in that David Lynch movie Lost Highway.
Mm.
But yeah, I wouldn't listen like to their music in my free time.
Do you am I correct in saying Germans are kind of like, oh, Rammstein?
I'm not sure there are enough fans here, but it's
Yeah.
also like not the musicians. Yeah, a band for other musicians or something.
Mm,
Uh,
mm.
Obviously, there are enough fans still in Germany here.
Yeah, I remember hearing somewhere that they're bigger everywhere else than they are
Yeah,
in Germany, which is an interesting thing sometimes that happens. Like that saying, a man has no prophet in his own country. But I think Rammstein are big everywhere, to be honest.
true. Yeah. Well, let's get to harmonica. So much talking about other stuff, which I feel like is so important, and it's like it all belongs together, and that's what I'm also trying to do with these, just to, yeah, show some different possibilities of like how to use the harmonica in different musical situations, I guess. And
Yeah.
that's why we also have like a monthly kind of harmonica challenge going on Twitch. It's always a different topic. And last month, our guest was Isaac Corbett. He's also a TikTok harmonica guy.
Cool. I'll
And
check
his
it
thing
out.
was playing harmonica along to drummers on TikTok,
Mm.
which is a great combination. And he went viral with it. So that was the topic of last month. Record something with harmonica and drums only. And then people can win harmonicas in the end. And I thought this month it would be a nice idea to do some harpboxing.
Okay.
I'm not a pro at beatboxing, so I also wanted to learn myself this month. So that's why I asked you to join here too. And I hope I can get some other harpboxer on this in 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, first of all, that's also something people are always interested in. Like, what kind of instruments do you play?
With harmonica?
Yeah.
Oh, I play Lee Oscar harmonicas exclusively. And
And all sorts of different tunings, right?
yeah, I'm a big fan of harmonic minor, natural minor, and the low tunings. Lee released a series of low keys, low diatonics
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, and they're just amazing. If you've seen my TikTok, most of those videos are using like a low C diatonic. And then I had lots of fun when I realized that you could get in there with a file and you could tune them down. So I turned the low C and the low D into a natural minor.
Okay.
And that sounds, when it's down the octave, it sounds, with the beatboxing, just sounds really dark and cool.
Yeah,
And
because also the reeds themselves are like just vibrating a little longer and stuff.
yeah, it's great. And I love the tone of Lee Oscar harmonicas, and I've been working with them for the past 4 years almost, and he's just been an amazing mentor, and he's really supportive, and he always says like it's all just music, man. And he has a really good outlook, and he just wants people to play harmonica, and he's so prolific as well. He's always writing, and um paints oil on canvas, and he's just painting every day and making songs, and and he's been a great influence in that sense of, you know, how you should be constantly just immersed in what you love doing. And he's a great reflection of that. He hasn't slowed down. He just creates, and he just exudes passion for his instrument and his art on a daily basis, and it's great. I love to see it.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Mm.
Ulrika is asking the right questions. Can we hear a little example?
Of some harmonica?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me grab one.
So, were you able to beatbox before playing harmonica, or was that something that came
Nope.
later?
I kind of learned at the same time, and hang on a second. So, I mean, I would class myself as a pretty rudimentary beatboxer. there are some guys on YouTube that can just make crazy sounds that defy biology. I don't know how they can make those noises and bass lines and whamps and kind of trap beats, and it's crazy. So
Yeah.
I think I do the bare minimum, and I just combine it with a harmonica, and I make grooves that sound cool to me. But I sort of learned it in tandem. I started beatboxing, and everybody does their technique differently, and I just sort of added little bits to mine throughout the years. So this is a harmonic minor. I really like these ones. And then you have your low C's. So that's kind of the Rory McLeod stuff that I was talking about there. He's the British folk musician that plays a lot of these harmonic minor keys that...
Yeah.
I don't know, there's such a quirkiness to those chords. Yeah,
That's
the
true.
note choices. Yeah. And then this is the low C.
Man, awesome. I think you got to do this again. Some of this was cutting out. Like, maybe you could check the settings, the audio settings. Maybe you have, like, the background noise suppression still turned to automatic or something. And there should be an option to deactivate it completely.
Do I just click on the audio settings?
Yeah.
Two. Suppress back. Oh, so I've got it set to auto.
Yeah, try to deactivate it or set it to as low as possible.
Okay. Okay, set to low.
That's better for music and harmonica playing.
Okay, you want me to try that again?
Yeah, for people out there.
Apologies, my knowledge of Zoom and the audio quality of Zoom is not great. So let's try that again. Hopefully this one's a bit better.
Yeah.
Better?
It was perfect.
Great. That's good to know. Hopefully I don't get my neighbors banging on the door now.
Oh yeah, I mean, at least you played the lower tuned harmonica. That's always a little better for the neighbors.
Yeah, for sure. It's gotten me in trouble a few times before, I won't lie. Neighbors, you ever see that show Neighbors from Hell?
Oh no.
Yeah. People don't like to be woken up in the middle of the night to the sounds of a harmonica and some beatboxing, it turns out. But it's a lesson learned.
Yeah. So for everybody out there watching, beatboxing, I mean, people out there can only play harmonica, but what is beatboxing and like what are the basics? Maybe you can teach us.
Yeah. So there are essentially three elements if anybody has experience in like programming drums on Logic, programming electric drums, they'll understand this, in that you've got your kick, your hi-hat, and your snare. And then once you have those three elements, it's just about figuring out a way to arrange them to create a groove that's interesting. So for me, I play the kick and the snare, but you might notice the kick, snare, hi-hat. You might notice that you don't really hear the hi-hat, and that's because the harmonica is the hi-hat. That's the space in the drum groove that it occupies. So once you've established that, okay, I don't got to worry about the hi-hat. That's just the harmonica. You just got to get down the sounds of your kick and your snare. So the kick is pretty straightforward. It's just like a B sound.
Yeah.
Give it a try.
I'm gonna try. It doesn't feel good having a cold, but I'm gonna do it. So, I mean, I can do the bass. Maybe I do it a little differently, but like,
yeah,
that's my
we're natural.
kick.
Yeah, and a little bit of practice. I always try and visualize the energy going down into the ground. I don't know why. It just helps. Just literally picture it that's going down through your legs into the ground. And with a little bit of practice, you can develop quite a bit of attack with that.
Yeah.
And when you put a microphone in front of it, you'll be surprised about how bassy it actually sounds on a PA system. It sounds just like a kick drum. So that's the kick.
Yeah, because like depending on the microphone, but like that's the microphone you want to use beatboxing through. Like you get the proximity effect.
Yeah, and my sound engineer usually adds lots of low end, so it gets a real kick.
So bodies in the room are moving.
yeah, it's the best feeling in the world when you play it. You can feel the kick, the PA system rattling. It's great. So that's your kick drum. The snare is a little bit more elusive, and that was something that I sort of developed over years of trial and error. And the easiest way to do the snare, a lot of people would just put an F on the kick, which is like a so.
Oh yeah.
And the way
that's what I never did.
Yeah, the way I found really helpful to balance the airflow. So one of my favorite things about the harmonica is that you can play it breathing in and breathing out, and that is very economic. It balances the air, like what goes in must come out. So I was kind of thinking about that and realized that if I can breathe in on my snare, it balances that economy of air a lot more equally. And there's a lot of ways. Some people do it like in the side of their mouth.
Oh yeah, true.
And Philip Henry, the guy I said, like my biggest sort of influence, he does it really weird, like in the back of his throat, like. I don't know how. If I try it that way, I'd choke. But I developed over years, just developed the technique of kind of doing it under my tongue, like.
Okay.
Like that. And with a little bit of practice, it gets quicker and it gets quite sharp. So. And.
Oh, nice! Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then really all you need to do is add the harmonica for the hi-hat. So you go.
Oh yeah.
And they're the elements. It's as simple as that.
Never thought about it that way, like just replacing the hi-hat with the harmonica. So that could be a nice starting point, like programming your favorite drum groove on Logic, whatever, in your DAW, and just replace the hi-hat with the harmonica.
Yeah, I will regularly be listening to songs and just try and recreate the drum groove.
Yeah. And
you can, even if you don't do it correctly, you can usually come up with something really interesting. Like the riff I just played there a minute ago, and that was the first video to kind of go crazy for me on TikTok. This one goes. I was fooling around with melody makers, and I was playing like the reggae, that 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 that
Yeah.
that was how I landed on that kind of groove. And even though it doesn't sound like reggae, it opened up a world of something really interesting, and I kind of started pedaling off that groove, and I use that rhythm for everything, and it's great to play live because you can see it just lifts the roof off of a venue whenever you do it, and people start bopping, and there's something really visceral and kind of catchy about that rhythm. It sort of makes people happy and makes their heads bop and their toes tap.
Yeah. I see. Yeah, thinking about my drum sound, I don't know. I think I gotta practice the snare on breathing out, like the.
Yeah,
I never did that, but
yeah.
I would also usually like go for the inhaled kind of option. That thing.
I was so terrible for so long, and I used to just have a harmonica everywhere with me, and I really just enjoyed playing it. If I was driving, anytime I was stuck in traffic, waiting for the lights to change, I'd be practicing and playing, and you develop different parts of your style and different elements kind of naturally or by osmosis. And for me, it was just a really slow process of adding little bits to it. And I really should, I would love to work on the beatboxing stuff more and try and learn a few more techniques with it, because I think there's some really interesting stuff guys are doing online with the sort of bass notes that they can generate in their chest, and I think to combine that with harmonica would be really interesting. So
Yeah, there's so much
what
more to explore. You're already doing like the rolled R, incorporating that,
yeah.
and I mean, you could sing through the harmonica while playing, and
Yeah,
I mean, infinite options.
yeah, I think in 20 years time there's going to be the next generation of players doing this stuff, but it's going to be light years ahead. And I love that. This is, I feel like this is like in the fledgling stages of a really interesting avenue for the instrument, and
Yeah.
it's going to be really interesting to see what artists continue to do over the next couple of decades.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, people have to explore the instrument somehow and have to discover somebody playing it, and yeah, just whatever, like with a good sound or whatever. It has to touch themselves, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's happening on, I don't know, on YouTube, I guess, on TikTok, on Instagram. That's how it is today.
Yeah, TikTok has been a really interesting one for me. Like I posted that first video on my TikTok, and I had, I think, 20 followers, and I woke up the next day and there was like 1 million views, and I had 30,000 followers.
Yeah.
And I have no idea why that particular video took off the way that it did, but TikTok seems to be really well, the algorithm seems to be really well set up to, if people watch it for the whole duration of the video, the algorithm will just push it to thousands and thousands of people. And I could see the comments coming in, and every day they were changing from Germany to France to Russia, then to the US.
Yeah.
And you could see the algorithm is like moving the video to different territories, and it was really bizarre because I've never experienced anything like that with any other social media platform. And I think YouTube is my favorite because YouTube was really slow for me, but I've recently started using it a little bit more, and YouTube are like the only platform that actually pay people, and I think that
Yeah.
YouTube is worth investing in, whereas TikTok you can get millions of views. I have almost 100,000 followers on TikTok, but the algorithm is set up in such a way that I could post something now and I'm not guaranteed many people will see it unless it goes viral. So it's like set up to sort of
Yeah.
favor viral videos.
Oh,
So
unless you have like millions of followers already.
yeah, it's like there's not much point of having 100,000 followers if they're not really going to see your content. A very small percentage of them will see it. So it's interesting, man. Social media is a really strange, unprecedented phenomenon that we, have only had for the past 20 odd years, and it's still kind of figuring itself out, and we're bouncing from platform to platform. It's hard to know how much longer Facebook is going to be around, and we're probably just around the corner from another crazy new fad that's like the next big thing to emerge.
Yeah.
And it's an unusual thing to observe as you're growing up. Our kids are going to be looking at this stuff and be like, how did you not have social media when you were a teenager? I mean, you were younger than me, I gather, but it's an interesting kind of unprecedented time where that stuff is all moving really, really quickly.
True. Yeah. So talking about that basic rhythm, can we do that on the C harmonica again?
Sure.
So let's prepare people for the Harpboxing challenge.
Sure. You know what? I'm going to leave a bit of suspense and not show you exactly how to do that one, because I was going to do a tutorial on my channel in the next month, and
Yeah.
I'll debut it there. So I'm going to hold the suspense. I mean, some people can figure it out by listening, but just not to give the game away too
That's
early.
perfect. People can check
But
out the description box and follow you on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, but what I will show you is like a straight hip hop groove that really kind of helped me get that balance of kick going out, snare going in, and the harmonica really sitting in the middle of the two and just balancing that airflow. And you can do it as slow or as quickly as you like. And it's quite simply just a kick, harmonica, snare, harmonica, repeat, which sounds like. So that's a kick, harmonica, snare, harmonica, repeat. That's me throwing in the little Spanish, the
Yeah.
little or there. You could even double up the kick. And simple as that.
Oh, true. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And if you can do that, you can do it with all other harmonicas too, and like
Yeah.
different tunings, and you get different chords and results.
And you can hold two of them in one hand and two in the other hand.
Yeah,
You can figure out really
that's a
interesting
great combination.
chord progressions. Yeah, because the harmonica is kind of limited in terms of chords, so it can be really interesting to sort of mix up different tunings, and you can get really, really cool stuff from it.
That's so true. There's this one harmonica that I started to beatbox on, which is the Hohner pentaharp, which has like two minor chords inside. So you have I think I have an A minor harp. So you have like an A minor on the blow and a C minor on the draw, which is
Nice.
pretty nasty.
Yeah,
But it's
Yeah,
a great combination for beatboxing.
yeah. I've gotten in there with a tuner and just fooled around with some random tunings, and there's so much you can do with that stuff. If you've got some old reed plates that you're not using,
True.
you can really get creative with it. Like one of the Hermitage Green songs, Heaven, I came up with the solo in my head, and I was so sure that I was like, this is how it needs to sound. And then I realized I couldn't play those notes on any one harmonica, so I had to get into a D natural minor, and Lee actually helped me with it because he's a genius. He could do it without even having a harmonica in his hand. He was able to tell me exactly what I needed to flatten in the reeds, and I was able to just build this really interesting tuning, so an alternate D natural minor tuning, and that's how I play the solo. And there's limitless potential, I think, with that stuff when you're brave enough to get in there and just start filing stuff down.
Yeah. Yeah, let me get these two out.
Yeah,
Because I have
let's
like
hear it.
this also another strange tuning that you might like. So this is the Panther Harp, and this is a harmonica tuned to true chromatic. That's how they call the tuning.
Wow.
And yeah, you get some nice minor 7, 9, 11 chords, a whole step apart from each other, which is a pretty nice sound.
Wow.
So this was made by a guy from Bulgaria, I think.
That is rich.
And I think it really lends itself to
Yeah.
beatboxing.
What's that called?
It's called true chromatic tuning.
Yeah, I think
It's like a circular tuning. That's what they call it. And it's also half valved, so you can bend the blow notes. And the blow chord sounds a little richer, you know?
Yeah.
Because like
That-
if you're beatboxing, I mean, I would say that the draw chord sounds a little more interesting, or you have more options.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder because you got to breathe in straight after the kick.
Oh yeah,
But sometimes you can do the kick right into the blow chord. I think I might have to pick up one of those tunings you just played. They're pretty beautiful.
it's nice. These are the banded blow notes.
Yeah.
And it's very bluesy at the same time. Feels like second position almost. It's
Yeah.
weird.
Are you puckering?
Yeah, I mean mostly.
Yeah, sounds like it.
And with these circular tunings, it's the thing is you can transpose anything you play if you just move up 2 holds. Like the breathing pattern stays the same.
Okay.
So I can play.
Oh, seems to be a lot of range on that.
Yeah. So this is interesting. And then with the Panther Harp, you have like. Oh, it's not A minor, sorry. It's like an A suspended sound. So it's A, D, E. And you have the C minor on the draw. Try it.
That's like early craft work or something, like a craft work arpeggiator.
Yeah, that's true. That's how I used it in my recording of for the harp and drum challenge. I just started out playing some groove along to the drums, and then in the background, I just like did this. And then I like cut out the lows and like panned it from left to right, some auto panning going on, and this is pretty interesting. Like nobody thinks that's a harmonica,
Yeah, that's great, man.
but it's so easy. Like everyone can do it. And
yeah.
sounds pretty fancy though.
I just bought a Helix amp simulator for my guitar, which has a bunch of different amp simulators, but guitar effects built into it. And I plugged in an XLR the other day and started using like a whammy pedal and different effects on the harmonica. And there's a whole other world in that too that I haven't explored. And I've started using the harmonica now on a looper, which is really interesting because you can just loop down some chords and a little bit of beatboxing and then kind of see where it takes you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I haven't experimented with looping yet.
Do you write songs as well?
I mean, writing songs. I mean, I basically produce instrumentals and beats, but I don't write songs or lyrics yet.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I wish I would be better. I mean, that's just something you can practice, I know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't start writing until I was in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
I even the first few years of my band, I didn't write, and it's like anything else. It's a kind of a muscle, and you get a little bit better at it the longer you do it. But it's also the thing I love about songwriting is you're not guaranteed to get better at it. So it's like songwriting is this magic thing that it's a certain amount of it is skill, but it's also what you're going through in life, what experience goes into the song, and how that kind of translates.
Yeah.
And it's like one thing where like I could write a song every day for 100 days, and the one I write on day 100 is not guaranteed to be any better than the one on day one.
That's
There's a
true.
certain ingredient that goes into it that's like makes it magic that you can't really control. That's why like so many artists will like write their best work in their first album and then try and and their careers trying to capture that again. And the reality is that it's out of your control. It's a mixture of inspiration and it's life experience and then your skill set on top of that. And I kind of like that you can't reach too hard for it. It's just it happens or it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you can get a little more consistent, but still, there's like some kind of other aspect involved.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
also, if I just like work on instrumentals, producing some beats, if I have a good day, I don't know, that like afterwards I think, wow, I'm never gonna be able to do this again. Like this is so good. And then
Well, I
maybe,
think
who knows, like few weeks later there will be another one that I really, really like that just
yeah.
stands out. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I was looking at a video of David Bowie the other day, and he was talking about the place that you should write from should be almost like analogous to stepping into the deep end of a swimming pool. He was like, you want to get deep enough that you can barely just get your head above the water. So that's the
Oh
place you
yeah.
want to write from, where there's an element
That's
of
interesting.
you're not comfortable and you're just about to step into the deep end where you can't breathe anymore. And he was like, that's where you should be. And I think in order to do that, you've got to be constantly sort of venturing into new territory and not trying to repeat what you did last week or repeat your last album that was really successful. You kind of have to be looking at new things and follow your curiosity or your gut or your intuition into wherever that takes you, and try not to write based on other people's expectations. And I think if you can successfully do that, you have a better chance of being consistent as an artist.
Yeah, I love the water analogy. I think that's also something David Lynch said, and for him, it's like fishing for the ideas, like catching the big fish.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
if you want to catch the big fish, it's like not right underneath the surface, it's like down there, you know?
Yeah, I had a friend tell me this great story recently where we were talking about creativity, and he said his daughter she's into horse riding, and she was at the riding center, and there's this horse that's in the riding center that's really wild and difficult to manage, and nobody can go near this horse because he's fucking crazy. And they have a guy that comes in who's like the horse whisperer. He's so good with the animals. And the horse whisperer came in, and within 2 minutes, he was able to calm this horse down and get it back into the stable. And they were like, how did you do that? Because nobody else can manage that horse. And he said, I never look it in the eye. I just approach it. I'm confident. My body language suggests that I know what I'm doing, but I never look it in the eye, and I'm not trying too hard to control it. I just sort of corral it into the stable. And my friend says, I think creativity is a lot like that. You can't look it dead in the eye. You have to kind of approach it off center and sort of let things happen to you. And I thought that was a great analogy
Yeah.
because sometimes when we write, if we're reaching too hard for that thing, or we're looking over our shoulder at the thing that we wrote before that seemed to work, and we try and recreate that, it doesn't really happen. It's kind of when you follow that gut instinct or that impulsive idea that lands in your head out of nowhere. I think that's where we sort of get stuff that's a little bit more interesting.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Mm.
So yeah, I mean, we already talked for over now an hour. We could go on for even longer, I guess. What else is up for you next? Like, how about your musical projects? Are you touring again soon with your band, Hermitage Green?
So tomorrow I have lectures starting early in the morning. So
Oh yeah.
for that reason, I won't speak late into the night. But in 2 weeks' time, this weekend, the band are actually coming to London. We've a show in Islington in the O2 Academy, which we're really excited about because we haven't played in London since December 2019, so before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And in 2 weeks' time, we leave for Australia and we go to Dubai on the way.
Oh,
Play
that's
a show.
nice.
Yeah,
I love
show in
Dubai.
Dubai is nice to get. It breaks up the journey to Australia, so we usually stop there for 24 hours or 48 hours to break up the journey. We play a headline show in Dubai, and then we fly to Melbourne. We play 2 shows in Melbourne, 3 shows in Sydney, and 1 show in Perth. The trip is, I think, nine days altogether. So it's a lot of traveling to go to the other side of the world for just 9 days, but we can't wait. We're really excited.
Wow, yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds great.
How about you?
So,
Where's your next trip?
on my next trip, I think we are preparing these orchestral concerts. We gonna have our main tour with it next month, and I mean, there's like one harmonica concerto written up until now by Howard Levy, and we thought there should be more. So we gave out some composition mandates, 1, 2, 3, to composers who wrote concertos for harmonica, piano, like my piano duo partner, and orchestra. So, yeah, these 3 pieces are like written, and we got practice like crazy. um, and we're gonna perform them. There will be like big premieres next month.
Excellent. That sounds
Um,
fun.
but yeah, like this month we are already visiting the cities where we're playing in, and we play like a little duo show there, and visit the schools with the harmonicas, and like, just give them some family tickets and all that stuff
Yeah.
to promote the show. Yeah, and also get younger people interested.
Excellent. That sounds great, man.
So that's yeah, a lot of practicing, I guess. And then I'm like constantly working on productions. Like I'm working on my own producer EP, trying to connect the music that I listen to with the harmonica, which is
Yeah.
like Afrobeat, drill, whatever.
Yeah, it's so great to see the instrument kind of moving into all of these different avenues and kind of ways of expression. It's really good to see, and I think that will ultimately keep the harmonica alive.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like force it into every track, but I want to focus on putting those out where the harmonica is there, because, I mean, then it's easiest for me to promote them too.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's also a lot of stuff coming out without harmonica.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, something like that. And always doing these interviews and the monthly challenges, which is great to just like be in touch with the harmonica scene, which is just like located all over the world. So
Yeah, great insight for you to kind of see the different ways that the instrument is being used in different parts of the world. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the Beatbox Harmonica Challenge goes down with your viewers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, we still need a judge, so I might be back in touch.
Yeah, well, hit me up.
So,
You know.
yeah, that's what's happening.
Mm.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for inviting me, Konstantin. It's great to speak with you and great to listen to you play. Keep it up, man. It sounds beautiful. And
Yeah.
hope to see you in London soon.
Yeah, I'm very sure. Like, I have to fly over again and for some sessions, I don't know, and work with these people and do some mixing and produce some other songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Everybody out there, you can check out the description box below. Check out Hermitage Green and the upcoming tour, and you can follow us on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and all that good stuff. Looking forward to the next Hohner Live in 2 weeks and the Harpboxing Challenge on October 13th. You can revisit this, check out the little hip-hop groove that Dan showed you, and we're gonna take it from there. Yeah.
Great.
So thank you
Thanks,
for tuning
everybody.
in.
And thank you for having me, Konstantin.
Oh yes, everybody out there, have a great evening or a great day from wherever you're tuning in. Bye bye.
Bye bye.